Hi everyone, I just thought I would come online and kind of like give an update on this incredible fragrance that I started talking about yesterday and that I had just, received a sample of and just tried like one time on one arm. Okay, it's Fatal Charme by Xerjoff. And this is kind of a fragrance that's like not much spoken about. It belongs to the JTC collection, the blue bottles, join the club. And this club is all dedicated to glamour, fashion, and luxury. Yes, it is a very sophisticated fragrance. My friend, I think, was interested in this fragrance. Why was she interested? I can't remember. She said all she got, she loves powder, but all she got from this fragrance was licorice, or like fennel, licorice, anise. And it is quite prominent in the opening, kind of a licoricey note, or like something kind of minty, fennelish going on. But I think this is incredible, this fragrance. It reminds me a little bit in the long dry down. I'm going to spray it now just so I get it like an update of like the opening, because this might be a little challenging to a few of you. But once you get past this like first 10 or 15 minutes, it's pretty sharp in the opening, definitely. It smells kind of like, those top little, what are they called? Those little green things on the top of a fennel bulb, and you kind of like rub them between your fingers, and like this licoricey smell kind of starts to, I guess, leave the plant, whatever. It does smell a little bit like that. But this kind of like settles down and it wears off. And then it goes into this like really nice buttery territory, like powdery, buttery. I don't get aldehydes. It says it's aldehydic, and I do think it reminds a little of Chanel fragrances, a little bit. But this is much more, this has a much better background, I think. And I don't think Xerjoff has given any notes on these fragrances, but the ones on Fragrantica maybe are someone has tried to kind of figure out the notes. But I have heard several reviewers say that they can't put the notes on Fragrantica in this what they're sensing in this fragrance together. And I think I might agree. These notes could actually be in there. So I'll just tell you what it says on Fragrantica. It says powdery notes. I definitely get that. Aldehydes, not so much. Orris, definitely. It's all centered around iris or the orris root. And it's like super creamy. It comes out more after like the 15-minute mark, and after that and like the long dry down. I wore it today from like 7 o'clock this morning. It was still performing at 3. It was just kind of, and it projects, and it has really got good longevity for an irisy type of fragrance. That was not what I was expecting, and I don't think I get that from any of these Chanels like 1957 or any of those like kind of aldehydic type of Chanel offerings. Floral notes, maybe. There could be rose in there as well, maybe a little bit. Absolutely not rose dominant in any way. Maybe some other florals. Ambergris, yeah, maybe. Maybe that's what makes it, what gives it depth, but it's not like salty. I would never have been able to say that it had ambergris, but maybe usually when I see ambergris in a fragrance, that I was like, okay, that's why I like it, because like this usually improves a fragrance to me. Depending on the dose, spicy notes and tobacco. And spicy notes I can sort of get that there might be like something like maybe coriander seed in there or something, because I kind of started to think about this iris fragrance called Flavor of Love from Savour. This has kind of, it's like iris and different spices. This has more like a carrot seed, oak moss kind of quality to it, which I don't like that much. It's really prominent in the opening, but this one also does kind of settle down. But now here's the problem. When you smell something as wonderful as Fatal Charme from Xerjoff, then all of a sudden you don't want to wear this anymore. And that's kind of a sad consequence of like you going up the ladder in terms of like fragrance quality. This just is not going to do it for me. This is too watery for me. This is like, it's not bad, but it's fresh and it's watery and it's transparent. But with this one, I get kind of an all-day experience with depth. Oh, did I say that spicy notes and tobacco? And tobacco I could never have picked out because like I mean, there is some sweetness going on, like a really subtle sweetness, but I would have maybe guessed that it was vanilla, perhaps. I can't smell it yet. It's only been a few minutes. We're like 5 minutes into the video, but like later on, I could really smell like a sweetness. It might be a floral sweetness with just a touch of vanilla, perhaps. There could be some other woods in here, maybe. But I really, really love the dry down. And I was trying to think of, are there any other like iris fragrances that have like that are super loud and have really good projection and longevity? And the only one I could think of was Suavissima, but that's like a powder bomb. That's like a heliotrope kind of fragrance. This cannot compare to that. This is a different kind of fragrance. The closest thing that I could compare this to in the dry down is Bois d'Argent from Dior. And Bois d'Argent is like super disappointing in terms of performance. I find that much more watery. It's like beautiful on first spray, but then kind of it goes away. It just like kind of disappears, which I find a lot with Dior fragrances. I think the performance is super disappointing. I think it's really bad value for money. I don't spend my money at Dior. Do I have any Dior? I do. I have New Look 1947, which I think is a unique fragrance, but the performance does suck. That is good to know and keep that in mind. But this is, I mean, I feel this is so sophisticated. It's so beautiful. It's kind of one of those, you don't feel too loud, but you know, like if someone hugs you, they're going to get a whiff of you. It's a perfect like fragrance for a job interview. I don't think I'd wear it like for a night out. I would more wear it for like a formal kind of event. That's just me though, because I would then take advantage of like my, more like oriental, louder fragrances because I kind of want to maybe get more attention, whatever. This is more of a subtle fragrance, but it's still really a good performer for this style of fragrance. I think it's interesting to listen to, since there are no official notes, people use all kinds of different words to describe this fragrance, but there are not very many reviews out there. I find that really interesting. Like this fragrance has just kind of gotten forgotten a little bit. People talk about, from this collection, people talk about More Than Words when that was in style, and then 40 Knots and maybe Ivory Root. I think that's a blue bottle too, right? Ivory Root. And Ivory Root kind of got all the attention because it's a bigger fragrance, but this is a much easier grab, I think. And this is a good alternative to Chanel fragrances, I think, and Dior, definitely Dior fragrances. It's kind of like French perfumery. But I heard this one guy, he said that this is smells like baby wipes, and I saw several on Fragrantica in the comments and the reviews there. They were saying that it smells like baby wipes, and also baby powder, I think some said, but especially baby wipes. I mean, I think you got to kind of read these reviews and just kind of form your own opinion. But this is something, it's a dry down really, really worth waiting for. And I think the price point of the blue collection is actually worth the money because these are a lot cheaper than like the, what are they called? Are they called what are they called? The whole collection with like Starlight and, there's not the fuzzy bottles, but the transparent ones there. Dajala, for example, is in that collection. I have that. That is like really pricey for 50 ml, but this is under $200, and that's like maybe $250 for the same amount. So I still think these are like really worth the money. Now I kind of almost regret buying 400. I would have preferred, I think, a bottle of this because it's such an easy reach, and this like always works. I think it's I love that it has like a good base. Maybe that's why it lasts so long, and that little tiny sweetness that comes out, it's really enjoyable, and it's still something you can wear and maybe get in a crowded car with other people without worrying about, coming across like a big cloud of perfume, because I don't want to give off that fragrance. I don't think this is like, I think some said that like this is, a little more ladylike, like an older woman, like 30 and up. But this thing with putting ages on perfumes, I think is kind of difficult. I mean, I do think like fruity tropical perfumes kind of I do associate that with like younger girls maybe, but this is like, it's not a grandma perfume. I think that guys could definitely wear this. I mean, it has such a nice base, and Bois d'Argent is definitely, that means silver wood. That is definitely an offering that I think is marketed towards both men and women for sure. So this, yeah, I think this is definitely unisex, and I will be enjoying every drop of this. I don't know if I will be purchasing a bottle because I do have other iris fragrances and kind of orris-y fragrances. But yeah, this I think this brings something new to my collection, because like Infusion iris is also a lot more watery and fresh and kind of disappears after maybe 4 hours. What else have I got? Like Chanel number 19 Poudré is beautiful, but that one goes in another direction. It's a little bit more green. It has like a bitter note of galbanum, which is makes it completely different from this. And I think this is an interesting, I like this kind of licoricey opening. There's something like a little bit cold in the opening. But I wouldn't buy it if it didn't develop from this point, because I think that the dry down is what you're after with this particular perfume. I mean, I do think that, like, you know how you say don't judge a book by its cover? You could also say don't judge a perfume by its opening. I used to think that, you know, a perfume has to have a good opening and a good dry down to be, you know, to make it full bottle worthy. But I've changed my mind. I think that some openings are quite challenging, and they are worth waiting for, because when they just, you know, start to warm up on the skin, they really start to bloom. And I think the show really starts with this one at like 15 minutes and beyond. And I just learned that like a good way to smell a fragrance when you've sprayed it on, and I think I do this naturally, kind of you first take a deep breath in, and then you exhale on your skin. So you warm up the area that you're going to sniff, and then you inhale again. And then that kind of warms up the fragrance from your breath. Try it. See if it works for you. Anyway, I'm going to get back to you guys about reviewers. I'm kind of starting a list of like reviewers that I like and reviewers that I might like, but that disappoint me because they get these gifted bottles. And as soon as they say this bottle was gifted to me, I stop listening because I know how obligated that can make you feel. And why would they not feel obligated if someone sends them free bottles to say something good? But I know this is what the perfume houses typically do. Okay, so they'll pinpoint influencers, and they'll say, you know, we'd like to send you some free stuff. Please choose your favorite or your favorites. And then they might send a bottle or two, and then they send the rest of samples. So they know that the influencer likes the one that they picked out. But how do they really know? Because if a fragrance house, say Parfums de Marly, where I really don't like any of the fragrances that much, but if they offered me free bottles, and if I was the kind of reviewer that accepted free bottles, I would probably say yes to a bottle of Oriana. I would probably say yes to a bottle of Safanad. I might say yes to a bottle of Leighton, perhaps. But that's not where I would choose to spend my money, because I think that there are better, for example, I think Love Don't Be Shy is better than Oriana. I think that there are Secrets du Paradis Rouge from Jules et Maude is better than Safanad. You know, there's just, I don't know, it's just not honest. It's not clean to me, because I want to hear where people decide to spend their own money. That's kind of what I'm after. If it's really worth it. If I see someone, you know, a reviewer sitting and they've got like this collection behind them where they have 20 Xerjoffs, there's no way they bought them all themselves. I mean, they could have been that way, but probably not, right? Or they have like a whole review of Atelier Materi. I was looking into Atelier Materi because I am in love with Cacao Porcelana. And I did find it interesting that Sebastian, the perfume guy, had ranked it number 6 out of 7, I think it was. Or was it number 5? It was at least not at the top. Which makes me like really curious about the rest of the fragrances, because I think this fragrance is incredible. And I just can't stop thinking about it. Right now I have 2 fragrances on my wish list. It is that one, Cacao Porcelana from Atelier Materi, and it is also Blanche Bête from Liquid Imaginaires. Those are the 2 that I really, really want. But they both, I think they come in 100 ml bottles. They're both really expensive, so I'm kind of like waiting, hoping that the desire will kind of pass. And here's my trick for like not buying. This is what I tell myself. I can have it, just not today. I wait. And tomorrow I tell myself the same thing. You can have it, but not today. And then I repeat that. And then usually somewhere kind of a little bit further down the line, I've kind of like started to forget that fragrance. And I'm on to new kind of desires. And then I repeat the process on those. And this has really saved me a lot of money. Like I decide to wait. Sometimes I'll like keep my eye open in the secondhand groups, or for a good deal, but I never buy at full retail price when I really have the urge that I want it. I say I can have it, but not today. And that, I think, try it. Does that work for you? Do you have any other rules that work for you? Because, we're all in, it's easy to go down the rabbit hole and just kind of like start spending, and you kind of lose, I think you get like a little bit speed blind. You start to think that like $200 is kind of like nothing, or, you don't really, I don't know about you, but I start to forget, like, what can I get with $200? How much money is this? I can take my family out to dinner for that money. There are many things that I could do with this money that might be, might be a better idea. All right, well, that was all for today. I really recommend Fatal Charm.